When you think of a homeless person in our nation, what stereotype comes to mind? Your thoughts probably wander to a lazy, unemployed drug addict who spends his days sitting on the streets of New York City begging for extra change. It's okay. There's no need to feel guilty about these assumptions because this stereotype is one that has come to be prominent in most of the United States. However, this cliche image represents almost the exact opposite of what most people in poverty look like throughout our nation. As one starts to dig deeper into what poverty really looks like across America, it is common to wonder how we have reached this point. Let's flash back to the stock market crash of October 1929, also known as the Great Depression. For the first year, job losses were moderate and the stock market tumbled, but towards the end of 1930, banks began to fail, stores closed, and unemployment surged. By 1933, the income payments for the nation had dropped by 45%. Nobody was able to prevent the rapid downfall of the economy, resulting in lost jobs quickly translating to lost homes and extreme poverty. In March 1933, when President Roosevelt took office, the economy was nearly stalled. Roosevelt made efforts to create new job opportunities, helping the national economy start to make a dramatic recovery and returning the unemployment level to 88%. Now, fast forward to 83 years to our nation's economic status now in 2016, where still about 15% of our population is considered poor. After reviewing this data, the question arises, what's stopping us from achieving more? Yes, the government now provides things like food stamps and social security to the less fortunate. However, we are going about tackling poverty in the completely wrong direction. We have become ignorant to the fact that most homeless people have full-time jobs, but this will never be enough for them to make ends meet. In Rhiannon Winter's article, What Homelessness is Really Like, he spends a week on the streets of New York City amongst people who call these sidewalks home. He was surprised and embarrassed when he learned that most of these people had full-time jobs, but still the only apartments they could afford were cheap ones in very shady areas. As demands for more housing in big cities goes up, prices only rise, and instead of building more apartments to accommodate more people, they are being torn down and turned into mansions. Instead of creating programs to help the 15% of our nation out of poverty, we are widening the gap between the rich and the poor even more than it was after America's recovery from the Great Depression. It has been proven that homelessness is not a result of laziness or drug addiction, but that the 5 most common reasons for poverty are lack of affordable housing, lack of living wage jobs, domestic violence, lack of affordable health care, and underemployment. What can we do about this worsening issue in the United States? As individuals, the most obvious way we can help is by volunteering. Instead of dehumanizing these individuals and acting like they don't exist, the least we can do is acknowledge them and realize that they too are citizens of the United States, and that they are just as important as anyone else. It is so simple to offer your service wherever it is needed in your community, such as volunteering at homeless shelters and food banks. There are also many governmental legislations that we can support in order to end this nationwide issue. The simplest answer to poverty is work. If we could somehow lessen the dependency of poor people and encourage them to get employed, would this be enough? Throughout the United States, minimum wage varies between about $8 to $11 an hour. In saying this, someone who works a full-time minimum wage job makes about $1,616 a month. The average city apartment costs $2,000 a month. In order to have enough money to afford this type of apartment and still pay for necessities like food and clothing, one would need to make a living wage of $28 per hour. By raising minimum wage, we can encourage more people to get jobs, which in the long run will socialize them and instill a sense of self-responsibility. In order to get this type of money, the government needs to make the rich pay their fair share of running the country. We need to prevent the Congress from making harmful cuts to anti-poverty programs such as food stamps, Social Security, and welfare. If we want to end poverty across the nation, the government needs to make a fund committed to more affordable housing and a higher minimum wage, and cut other unnecessary federal expenses. We are the new generation, and it is our turn to take action. By making small steps like these, we can end poverty for good in our nation.